Hello everyone, and welcome to a new video. Today I have your world record Hotlap around Zandvoort on F1 2021. This has been a widely requested track for some time now, ever since my channel started to grow really, so yeah, I've never been able to get the world record at this track, but I finally done it. And after the Hotlap, we'll go into the track guide and set up in more detail. So yeah, let's get into the lap.
Okay, that last lap was a 1 minute 8.3.
So heading on to the detailed analysis of the lap now. For turn 1 you want to stay quite close to the inside but don't touch the curb, and this will allow you to get a better run out the corner, which is quite important. It'll be easier. Now heading into turn 2 you want to put only your front left tire on this curb, and that is actually something I do quite often on this track. Just only put your front left tire on the entry curbs and you will see more of that later on. Turn 3, miss the curb on the inside, that basically spins you out instantly. Then get on the power quite aggressively, just one flick of the steering wheel because you can lose the car quite easily through here. Then yeah, anyway, aggressive on the power, then for here, brake earlier than you think. But yeah, just stay tight to the inside again and pick up the power as early as you can. Now going up the hill to one of the most difficult corners on this circuit. Now use all of the track on the entry. If I scroll back a bit, I mean, I'm almost touching the grass completely on the white line. Opens up the corner, which is important. Now, again, staying tight on the inside, and around about this point, you start picking up the power again. Try to be smooth on it, because, again, it's easy to lose the car, especially if you end up on this curb. You don't want to run out wide onto that. So, for next corner, I'm still not sure what the fastest line through here is, but what I do is miss the curb on the inside, then get on the power aggressively, then try to avoid this curb as well. Again, only putting my front left tire on it, because in the previous games you could go completely over it, but on this game it just spins me out sometimes and I couldn't do it consistently for it to be worth it. Yeah, braking on the curb, third gear. It's quite tricky on the traction, this exit. So if you need to short shift up to fifth gear, you can see I lose the car a bit right there. Wide entry, then slow the car down right next to this curb, and that will allow you to pick up the throttle a bit earlier and get a better run onto the straight, which isn't long, but it's still important to get a good exit. Now start of sector 3, again only front left tire on the curb. You can hop this curb a bit, but it's quite difficult. If I scroll back, I would only use this bit of the curb and not this part, but sometimes it just throws you off entirely and you can't really do much to avoid it. Now staying tight to the inside at the second part of the chicane, down to second gear in. Shifting up to third, again, tricky on the power. Now heading into the last corner, or penultimate corner really. You want to brake late and turn in late, so you can make the car more straight on the exit. I overdid a bit slightly. You can see I missed the apex, but wasn't that big of an issue. Now staying all the way to the inside to finish a lap around Zandvoort, which is a 108.302,
Okay, that last lap was a
which is currently the world record by about 13 thousandths of a second, so very close indeed. And now let's look onto the setup I used during this lap. Now for the wings, you're going to notice that I'm running a higher rear wing than a front wing, which is similar to an F1 2020 setup. And the reason for that is I felt like I was struggling with traction quite a bit. I mean, you saw even with the higher rear wing, I was still sliding a lot. So yeah, I felt like that was necessary in order to not spin out and just I felt a lot more confident. And I compensated for that with more aggressive suspension settings, as you're going to see later on. So yeah, 810 wings. For the transmission settings, I ran 100% on the on-throttle diff and 52% on the off-throttle diff. So for the on-throttle diff, it's fairly simple. Just gave me the best traction out of the corners, and I felt most comfortable with it. And for the off-throttle diff, you see, I used 52 instead of 50, which I usually use, and that just gave me a bit more stability mid-corner. And yeah, I felt that was necessary in order to go faster. For the suspension geometry, running the front and rear camber all the way to the right and the toe settings all the way to the left. Like I said earlier, I was struggling with traction out of some of the corners, and putting the rear camber all the way to the right helped with that. And I actually feel you could use some front toe for better turn in, but yeah, just putting it all the way to the left felt the most stable for me, and confidence is key around this track, so I kept it all the way to the left. And potentially rear toe as well. Sometimes can make it more stable through the fast corners, but yeah, I kept it all the way to the left as I felt comfortable that way. So yeah, right, right, left, left for the suspension geometry settings. Now moving on to the suspension itself, you can see it's quite aggressive, and I used it to get most of the responsiveness out of the car instead of the aerodynamic settings like my previous videos. So one thing I noticed was that no matter how conservative I ran the suspension, the curbs were always deadly, so I took that factor out the window and just focused on making it the car as quick as possible with the suspension settings. And for the suspension stiffness, running 3/8, the three front suspension just made the car more stable in general, and I just really liked the way it handled, so that's how I ran it. And for the roll bars, very big difference between them. It basically helps with getting more mid-corner responsiveness. As for the right height, running it 1.7 just to make it more stable towards the exit of the corners. That was my aim. Nothing too surprising with the brake settings. 100% brake pressure and 55% brake bias just gave me a good balance between how much the car rotated and how much stopping power there was, so I felt happy with that. As for the tire pressures, just usual stuff, running them all the way to the right gave me the best stability, so didn't see a point in changing that again. Maximum PSI. Something that many people asked me in the comments is where these setups are for the race or just time trial. And the answer to that is just time trial or qualifying. That's what I build them on to get the world records. But if you want to see a video about race setups, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know in the comments. And yeah, I guess that's it for the video. Let me know if you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.